things people talk about in Saturday success, all of the elements.
Is it gonna look like?
All right. Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in.
Hello.
This is Marion. Those of you who haven't met my wife, my lovely wife, this is Marion. As you know, we have made a commitment to do more videos together to talk about the things that we're mutually passionate about. And one of the things that we introduced to you guys a few weeks ago was Screen Alert, which is talking about the importance of mental health, social health, and physical health for ourselves, but more importantly, in protecting our children from all of the dangers that come along with this rapid advancing technology that we put into their hands. And so we've been sharing some things about it from a psychological perspective, social perspective. We're also going to talk about some of the dangers that comes through the technology by way of apps today. And so what I'm going to do is we're doing something a little different. So forgive us if we seem a little awkward. We're actually dual streaming. We're streaming on Facebook. Facebook, what's up, everybody?
Hi. That's why I don't know which screen to look at. You guys are going to see me going back and forward here.
She'll get into it. But hey, everybody, YouTube, what's up, fam? You guys know I got mad love for you. Also, there's some information that's in the chat room for YouTube and the description box for Facebook that shows how you can support the work that we are doing in the community. I'm putting it up on YouTube now. Take that one off. Too long. That's okay. And here we go. What is it? Delete. All right, now there we go. We're good to go on this one. Okay. All right, it's up. Hey, Tamika. Baby, that's Tamika. That's my Tuesday morning at 8 for the past
Tamika, how
year
are
and
you?
a half. That's always giving big up. She's been a major supporter of the work we've done.
Great,
as you can see, the little blue thing right here means she's one of my administrators.
Okay.
So she's gonna watch the bad behaviors, and if they get to cutting up, she can shut them down.
Okay.
So, and I have a few of those. But okay, to everybody, basically, you know the work we do with Black Men Lead as far as our rite of passage and teaching young Black males and socializing young Black males into productive and effective manhood. We also are aware of Marion's passion with restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters. And don't forget to go over to her new channel. I'm going to get that information to you before we go over to her new channel, subscribe there, where she's specifically working with ministering to and giving inspiration and encouragement and guidance to our females, our young women. And I'm excited about that. That's a major move for her. She is by nature a behind the scenes person. Her mind is brilliant. Her passion for what she does is unparalleled, but she is not the kind of person that normally is okay with getting out and doing what I seem to do, like instinctively. And that's what makes us good, is that we both have spaces in our marriage. And so we're going to do this. Like I said, this is the first time we've done dual streaming, but I wanted a different vibe and I didn't want to take the same video. I'm going to see how this works out. And if so, I'll be doing this more often. But what we want to talk about today is real simple. I'm going to turn it over to Marion, and what she's going to do, she's going to actually share with you some mobile apps and technology that you should be aware of with your kids, and what they're doing and how they may be bypassing some of the safety nets that you know that none of this, none of that, and then you've got to go behind them because they sneak it in through these veneered apps that allow them to bypass it. And another thing I caught, which you should definitely be aware of, is the slide trap door. for apps.
Yeah.
And what a slide trap door is like, okay, you're used to apps, so you slide and slide until you see an empty page, right?
Right.
And so you say, okay, that's all apps. No, slide again. And it's a whole nother set of apps over there on that hidden page.
These kids are smart.
So you got to look at the bottom. It'll tell you how many pages it is in the little dots.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pay attention because that empty page isn't the last page.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something to be aware of. And the thing is, you're going to be constantly learning. As fast as you learn something new, and
there's going to be something else.
They're coming out with something else. And they, you know, they got all these apps. She's going to talk to you about that. My thing is, we've got to be careful because we're in a situation where technology is moving so rapidly that if you're not careful, the technology and all of the data and information and stimulus that's coming through it will be rearing your kids instead of you. Right. And it's so easy because they get quiet. Mm-hmm. They don't bother you as much. It's so easy to sit up and let that device keep their attention. But what you don't realize is you don't control what they're seeing on it. And especially when you're not able to watch them 24/7. They have 24 hours a day to find everything out there. And there's not these little things where you can say, okay, it's automatically not going to show them this because this is bad. It's not, it's everything that you're seeing that's vexing your spirit on social media. They're seeing it, and they're seeing it at a level and an age and a time where they're not mentally, emotionally, psychologically capable of processing it and being able to distinguish what they shouldn't be doing, what they should not listen to. And it can take them down a rabbit hole that they may not easily recover from. And so what I'm going to do is pass it on to Marion, let her talk about what she's discovered, because we've been doing some research. Marion is, and I've got this ongoing joke that we used to watch this like show. What was it? Divorce Court? No, it was the what was it?
Couples Court.
Couples Court.
Yeah, Couples Court.
And it was this two judges were married, and they would always talk about they had a full and complete investigation. I said, y'all haven't seen a full and complete investigation until my wife get a hold to it. She's digging and finding all kind of stuff. But so she's been on her and using her investigative skills to find out some things. And so what we're going to do is turn it over to her, let her talk to you about how we kind of got into this, why it's important to us, but also why it should be important to you and why we're making it a part of what we're doing at the Odyssey Project. It's all on you now, baby.
Okay. Well, I did some research, and I went through a couple of sites actually to try to get the most recent up-to-date information. And I came across an organization called educateempowerkids.org. And on this particular site, it just gives you the most dangerous apps of 2019. I haven't found one for 2020, but of course I'm still searching. So as soon as I find it, I'm going to let you guys know about it. But I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom because this has been a problem possibly for us. The jailbreak and rooting apps. So in other words, you have controls on your phone, like with Verizon or T-Mobile or whoever you use, so that you can limit what your youth can view. Well, they have apps. There's one app called Cydia. We're going to be doing captions. Are you going to do captions on this video?
Yeah, I'm going to do captions on the video. I'm also going to list all of these in the description box of both videos.
Okay. One is called Cydia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's spelled C-Y-D-I-A. It's a jailbreak rooting app, mainly used for iPhones. This app doesn't have an age restriction. Okay, so what these apps do is that they're used to remove restrictions and limitations on a phone, tablet, game console, or computer, so the user can install apps, extensions, and other software prohibited by the manufacturer. This puts the device at risk for hackers, malware, theft, and stalkers. So I wanted to make mention of that one before I go through all the rest of them, because there's several more, but just to know that even though you put stuff on your kids' phones to protect them, they know ways around that. So that if they install these apps, they can get around all the restrictions.
And I mean, just a prime example is me dealing with tech so much. I'm aware of a lot of things that probably the average person isn't. But for whatever reason, your kid's gonna test you. You know, they're gonna see exactly what it is. And the thing is, I'm always looking, I'm always aware. And so for a long time, I've known about these apps. So what happens is you go to your kid's phone, right? And you're checking call logs, you're checking the text messages, and everything's good, everything's gravy, everything's cool. That's because they're not texting through the text messages.
Exactly.
And they're not calling from the call logs. They're calling from apps, texting from apps, texting in DMs, like on TikTok, WhatsApp, on Instagram, WhatsApp, all of these other places that they can go to. And they're doing things like that. Then they're also doing the drive delete thing. I call it the drive delete thing. What that is you download the app, you use the app. When you're done using the app, you delete it. So when someone checks your phone, the app isn't there. And so what you got to be able to do is call them. All you got to do is get on with your provider. And there's a history of everything that's been downloaded. If the phone is on your line, there's a history of everything that's been downloaded. Also, there's a history of all text messages, even if it's been deleted.
Right.
There's a history of it. And police call it a phone dump. But you can actually call your provider and say, I want a phone dump for this phone number. And everything that's been on it will get sent to you. And you can go through it. You're going to have to do this because as I was reminding Marion, when we grew up, that was the TV
yes,
and the radio and the little kids in the neighborhood that your parents knew. Your parents knew everybody in the neighborhood and who their kids were, who they wanted you to hang around and who they didn't want you to hang around. They know what radio stations you were not going to be listening to and what television shows you were not going to be listening to. And they could hear them 3 rooms over. What the hell is you watching in there? Turn that SHIT off before I come in there. And that was the end of it. Now you got a time where your kids have 10,000 times more information, 100 times faster, and you never hear it. You never get to see it because by the time you open the door and walk in the room, they turned it off.
Right.
And they don't have the capacity to be able to look into it and see what you see. In their little 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 13, 14, even 16, 17-year-old eyes, what looks naturally innocent to them could destroy them. They're kidnapping kids using these apps. Yeah. They're grooming kids using these apps. You know, this is now how they're grooming kids for the sex trade, for the human trafficking trade. This is how they groom. They get you comfortable. They put somebody on you that's your age. You think you're talking to somebody your age, but they're actually setting you up. They get you comfortable enough to leave home, come meet them at the mall, or meet them somewhere else. Next thing you know, you get a drink, you know, some lemonade, some Coke or whatever,
water too.
And the next thing you know, you wake up and you're locked down.
Right.
And Armia, I agree. YouTube can be very dangerous because it's so many people on there. There's so many different things, and it's so much that you can get, and it's so much exposure. It's a great tool for sharing. It's a great tool for building informational platforms. It's a great tool for people like me who's trying to share things and promote things positive. But for everybody that's promoting something positive, there's some people out there promoting something negative.
Right.
And what they'll use a place like YouTube for is not for the primary site. They'll use YouTube to pull you in. Then they'll redirect you to a site that redirects you to another site, and they filter out the people who are too savvy. By the time you arrive to that last site, they know you're gullible. Yeah. Because they've taken you through several filters that you should have had a red flag go up. Yeah. Right. And so if you landed on this site, they got you, and they're going to start working. And all of these things happen. And what happens is, just like when we were kids, we thought we knew it all. We thought this, and we would later learn in life that at 50, I still don't know it all. And, you know, and both of us come from the hood.
Right.
So we know game. You know, just because we decided we didn't want to stay in the hood, right, don't mean we don't peep game. Don't mean we don't know what's going on. And while the language of the game has changed, the game is still the same.
Right.
And we see it a mile away. We see it coming. But what you have to realize is that there is this idea that I'm smarter than the people who are trying to get me. And that's when you got as million of people. You got to understand right now, please understand this. This is something I did interviews on last year. This is something that was a big thing of mine last year. I was trying to bring awareness to this. And that is sex trafficking is the second largest industry on the planet, underground industry, illegal industry. It has replaced drug dealing.
Right, it has.
As the most lucrative industry except for arms dealing. You got arms dealing, and then you've got human trafficking. Then you've got drug dealing. That's the power of what's going on right now. So if everybody was as smart as they thought they were, right, this couldn't be a lucrative business. These people make money off of finding ways to trick people.
To take our kids.
To take babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't think you've got everything covered. You can't let yourself get caught slipping. So as parents, like we sit up and say, it's our responsibility to watch out for you beyond what you're capable of watching out for yourself. And so what we're trying to do is encourage you.
Right.
So I just wanted to, you can go back and start sharing. Okay. It's so many of these.
Yeah,
like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get those and I'm going to make sure I get them on the site and I'm going to get them on these videos. So you guys get
familiar with these different
apps.
And
we'll keep updating them.
Okay. So, we all know that we have, almost everybody has Facebook. Most young children or youth, they don't really do Facebook per se, but we know mostly everybody does Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, right? But there's also some less known social networking sites that are unfiltered. And one is called BYF, B-Y-F, is unfiltered. It's an unfiltered social media platform. This social media app that offers people an unfiltered experience. There are no restrictions, no filterings, which means unlimited access to porn, images, and conversation. And it's BYF, B-Y-F. That's an app. The next one is Comvo. It's spelled C-O-M-V-O. The Free Speech Social Network, a platform that offers unfiltered postings. The makers encourage users to speak freely and post whatever they want. This app also allows users to expire their posts so that they cannot be accessed after a certain date. There's another one called Social Media Freedom. This application is rated M17 plus, but there is nothing stopping anyone younger than 17 from downloading the app. And users can mark their favorite locations, which scares the hell out of me, which makes them an easy target for predators. And it's very self-destructive. Look is another app, L-O-O-K, a live video and text messaging app that is unfiltered and contains inappropriate content. Ask FM, A-S-K-F-M, a social media app that allows users to post in a Q&A form. It is well known for cyber bullying, trolling, swatting, and encouraging suicidal behaviors. This one should be avoided at all costs. They have an extra alert on that one. Is it time for my, I gotta do my call. Not yet. Okay. GAG is the number 9 and GAG, an app that encourages users to upload and share user-created funny content with little to no filtering. This app has a history of swatting, trolling, and cyberbullying and should be avoided as well. So I can go into the rest of them after you make your commentary on those.
Again, the sites that she just talked about, or the apps she just talked about, are huge because of the content that's on there, because of the lack of boundaries, the lack of filters, and the type of engagement. We're talking about engagement that a lot of adults cannot navigate through. It's not something that, as a grown man, I would want my spirit exposed to.
Right.
So when I think of my kids, and my job is to protect their innocence for as long as I possibly can, because once it's lost for good. then that's not a place I would want my kids to be. That's not a place where I would feel comfortable allowing my kids to move around and be exposed to. It's not that your kid has ill intent. It's not that your kid doesn't have self-respect. It's that anytime you expose yourself to stimuli long enough, it has an impact on you beyond what you are prepared to deal with. I was taught a long time ago, association brings about assimilation, that if you expose yourself to something long enough, it impacts your behavior, it impacts your thinking. And what happens is what may be something upsetting and unacceptable to an individual initially, being exposed to it long enough desensitizes you to it, and then makes it acceptable. And you start to deal with it. And once it becomes acceptable, it's just one more step until you're doing it. And so we are responsible as parents to see things through a lens that our children can't see things through. You know, we talk to our kids, and one of the things that we tell our kids, they're mutually exclusive for the most part. You know, there are times you can be cool. There are times that you can sit up and, you know, be fun. You should be. You should be enjoying your relationship with your kids, but you should never confuse that enjoyment with a requirement or a responsibility to give them everything they want so that they stay happy. You know, the thing is, your job is to make sure they get to adulthood as unscathed as possible, because adulthood is where life really starts to happen, and it's unforgiving. And you don't want them entering into that already beat up, banged, misused, mishandled, or worse. People are being stalked through these apps and these sites. People are being murdered through these apps and these sites. And I get all of this because that's what we do at the ISA Project, is we help people deal with social issues, especially in the Black community. I get a lot of these cases. You got babies that have been missing for years, and these parents, I can't imagine. It's one thing to lose a kid. I can't imagine that, but I can't imagine having a child and they're out there somewhere, but you don't know where they're at. You don't know what happened to them. And that never goes away until there's closure. And there's so many people that contact me that don't have closure 10 years later. And the baby left the house thinking they knew better. And never came home.
Happens every day.
I mean, every freaking day it happens. I forgot how many seconds a child is kidnapped. But it's hundreds a day. And so what you have to understand is we've got to be the vision and the covering that they don't know they need. You got some more?
Yeah, I have some more. So earlier we did the social media apps, the ones that are dangerous for our children. And some of you guys are not going to like this, because some of you all may use a couple of these apps. But on the video chat apps, there's one called Big O Live. It's a live streaming video social media network. The main focus of this app is to gain status and money through views and advertising. But guess what? The most popular one right now, TikTok. The purpose of this app is for users to create and post real short videos and messages. Although it's notorious for mature and pornographic content. That's everybody's favorite app right now, TikTok. But it's not necessarily good for our youth.
You know, everybody's seen the funny stuff on TikTok, you know, and all the stuff they do on TikTok. But what we found out is that it's like one of the most popular for pornographic content. And we know what kind of gateway that is.
The next one is Holla, H-O-L-L-A, a video chat application that allows users to post random videos and connect with strangers in their area. Okay, it's easy to fake age and put children at risk of meeting and interacting with predators. That one is called Holla, H-O-L-L-A. There's one called Blender, B-L-E-N-D-R, a video chat room where you can encourage to chat, flirt, and meet others with other users in your immediate area. Steady putting our kids at risk. There's one called a live stream video chat app where the user broadcasts live to fans who they may or may not know. It's possible to view as a guest. So these people can come in as, they could be anonymous and they could be perverts or whatever else they may want to be. Look, is that one you know?
Yeah, that's a huge one. Periscope. Periscope is the prolonged video element and component of Twitter. Mm-hmm. So that's Twitter's video chat bit. You want to do long videos and have them post to Twitter. You do it through Periscope.
Yeah.
I've had a Periscope account for a couple of years. And, I used it for a while and then decided that I would just share my links to other videos on Twitter instead of actually creating them on Twitter, because the content evolved so quickly on Twitter. I didn't see the total benefit. But what's happening is people are using this platform as a way of reaching and accessing people. And you've got to understand, when you talk about advancing technology and communication, that comes with certain risk and threat. Mm-hmm. We don't see it because it's new to us. It's new of having rapid access. We no longer live time. If you realize it now, if you're 40 or over, which Marion and I are, if you're 40 or over, you remember a time where most of the stuff that went on in the world, you had to wait to 5:30, 6 o'clock for the 5:30, 6 o'clock news. Yeah. Or you got, if it was really, really serious, you got it on a special alert that interrupted your favorite soap opera and told you what was going on. Now the news channels are getting it secondhand because everybody's living firsthand and going live. So you actually see it first time on social media. Yeah. Somebody got shot and killed. Somebody's videotaping it right there. And then they're sharing it. Well, what happens with the speed of this is the lack of ability to process, the lack of ability to control. If I don't, if you watch your favorite news, you know what comes on first. Normally it's going to be traffic. Next is going to be this, it's going to be this. And you know where the most likely the dangerous and the murder and all that stuff is going to be in your news segment because it's in the same spot every day. So if you want to miss that, you tune in a little late or you tune in a little early, get what you want, check out. You don't have to get it. Now it's popping up on you and you don't get a chance to process it. It's controlling you. Right. And that's what we're really concerned about, because most people aren't familiar with media propaganda. Most people aren't familiar with how the media controls the message. And then in controlling the message, they control the narrative. In controlling the narrative, they control the way people think. And so now you got people who have ill intent for your kids having access to a large element of the media that kids are frequenting. And then again, they're going there with no idea of the dangers that they're facing. Because if you're a parent like we are, for the most part, they've been protected from that part of the world. Yeah. So they got this idea that the world is just a big, happy place. Yeah, and it's not. And the dangers that are out there that most of us have encountered in our adulthood, they haven't yet seen.
Okay, and then the next one is House Party, an application that allows people to video chat and text 2 to 8 people at the same time. You can connect with your friends and your friends of friends. You can create a live place where you can connect on and off throughout the day and meet people secretly. That's House Party. And then there's some gaming apps for those of you that have children that are on their games all day, because I know I have one. I'm trying to get him off of it. But one gaming app is called Twitch, Twitch. This application allows users to watch and comment on live streams of video games. You can also create your own live stream that others can comment on. Another one is Discord, a video game chat application that allows users to log in and join other gamers while playing a video game. This application has mature content and privacy settings that can be easily changed.
Hold on one second, babe. We have somebody on here that I want to actually acknowledge on YouTube. Omega Courtney is the screen name. And what he's saying is that he learned last year that his underage daughter was being engaged by someone they believe to be an adult, and there's actually an open investigation into it. And he's saying that this is extremely important, that this is something that needs to be done, and he has become active himself in doing that. And so I just happen to notice this going on in the chat room, and so I want to talk about it.
So it's real. It's really happening, guys. And I mean, I have dealt with young girls that have been taken. It's no joke. And then eventually they have to go into, when they're found or when they escape, they have to go into protective custody for a while, because the people that took them are still going to look for them and try to take them back. Right.
And what you have to also understand from a psychological perspective is where I was actually brought in and consulted last year while we were really doing this, is that you have to understand that when children are taken and abducted, there's a psychological process of conditioning that's going on, to where at a certain point they will actually be very, very compliant to the commands, the wishes, and the desires of their captor, and that they will actually, even after being freed, in many instances seek to reconnect with their captor, because that's what they know. And so you have to be very aware of what goes on. And one of the things is that because of this type of conditioning, this type of programming, that when you first rescue a child from it, that there's going to be a point in time where they're going to be at high risk for recapture, because if they get in contact with the child will listen to what they say and actually go back. Another thing you have to be aware of is that when they're grooming a child, this is the part where they haven't actually made contact, or if they have, they haven't presented themselves as hostile, and they're grooming the child. And this is where you'll find that you've got to pay attention to little nuances and shifts in behavior and attitude and mood from your children, because that means something is changing and happening and shifting in their lives. And so what happens is, as these people are grooming these children will probably become a little more irritable with you, because that's how they're going to detach the child from you and make the child more trusting of them. And so you have to,
you become the enemy,
you'll become the enemy in your own home, and the child is being groomed and pulled in, and at some point they will be convinced to walk away from the house and meet somebody just to talk about it, just to get something off their chest, just to get away for a minute and have some fun, and they don't come back.
Never seen again.
And so you got to understand how this game is played. The mind games are strong, and of course, kids don't see. It's a bunch of adults that don't understand the power of mental programming and mental conditioning. That I do it. And you don't realize what you expose yourself to has a massive impact on how you think. And if you expose yourself to it enough, it will shift the way you think. This is how media has controlled things for years. We're out there thinking we're making our own moves, but if we're not careful, we're making the moves that they want us to make by the information they're feeding us. And that's definitely capable for a child who hasn't fully mentally developed yet. So it's something that we have to be aware of. But you can go ahead. I just wanted to acknowledge, he says his name is Ashley Courtney Omega. I wanted to get that straight.
Thanks for the input, Courtney. Others need to see that this is real and it's actually happening. So thank you for that. There's some anonymous message apps that I want to bring up. One is called Lipsi, Lipsi. According to the creators, this app allows you to connect with your friends and be open and honest with them while protecting your identity. So somebody can still go on anonymously connecting to your kids. What is that? Telling them. It's TELLONYM. This app is much like Ask FM in that it allows users to post questions and get answers. The main difference in this particular app allows users to post and answer completely anonymously. So again, we don't know who our children are talking to. There's another one called Whisper. This app was created to share secrets and discover what others really think. It is essentially a social media app that connects you to others in your location. Everything is done anonymously, and there is not much of any filtering at all. And then this last one is Sarahah.
Yeah.
It's spelled Sarahah, an app where users can pass anonymous notes to each other, giving feedback about their strengths and their weaknesses. Users do create a profile which they can connect to Snapchat.
Okay. The whole idea of sharing information, answering questions, giving feedback, that's a part of the grooming process. When I'm dealing with a person that's come to me for any type of counseling or consulting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a psychological profile, a social profile, and I'm going to do a DISC assessment to determine what their strengths are, what their natural proclivities are, how they approach stress, how they approach challenges. Are you an aggressive person? Are you a risk taker? Are you a person that's very structured and you do better when people are telling you what to do? Are you a free thinker and you normally buck the system? Because that tells me how I'm going to be able to help you improve whatever it is you're going to improve. But the flip side of that is if I want to manipulate that, then that allows me to know what your weaknesses are. It allows me to sit up and get whatever. And so you have to be aware that these children are not capable of understanding what's being done. It's like, hey, you know, you don't sit up and told a person what you like to drink, what you like to do. You don't told a person what you don't like about your home life. You've told a person, you know, all these different things. So now they become everything you need and nothing you don't like. And they do it in such a subtle and smooth way that you don't get it and you're all in and you don't know what you're up against. And this happens daily. And so what we're trying to do is actually bring people up to speed on what's going on with your children and the dangers of the phones. One of the things we talked about, Marion, is that maybe we gave our babies phones too early.
Yeah, I think so.
And what we exposed them to in the process and what we're going to do moving forward. And my thing is, I really don't think that the average kid is ready for unbridled access to the internet before 16.
No.
I mean, it's just so much out there. And the more I'm out there, the more I'm combing through all of this, the more I see just tons of, we have to check this out. For the first time in history in America, there is a Black population that leads the nation in that population in suicides and suicide attempts. And that's ages 5 to 11. Our babies. Why? Because they're exposed to things that we were never exposed to at that time. And it's bullying, online bullying, and so much more. But it's also an exposure to unrealistic expectations of what you need to be, who you need to be.
Now that's major.
And that. So now they're trying to live up to a standard that actually does not exist. And the more they try to live up to that standard and realize they can't, they become depressed because now somebody in the world has something they want, but they can't have it. And they don't realize that the person presenting the image probably has far more problems than they have because you only get someone's highlights.
That's it.
You only get someone's highlights. And if you're judging your life based off of someone else's highlights, it's so easy to get depressed. You don't know what that person had to go through to get that house. You don't know what misery they are going through while living in that house. You're getting the presentation, which is what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops of what they're living and how they're doing. And you don't know what's going on behind it. Some of these reality shows, all you got to do is sit back and look and you see how miserable they are.
Oh, we don't watch them in our homes. We don't watch reality shows, period.
And that stuff is, but I mean, all you got to do is look and see how dysfunctional they are. You have to see that. So what I'm getting at here is just because something is available, you know, it's almost like a bragging right now. I got my baby an iPhone, but is your baby prepared for what comes with it?
Mm-mm.
Were you prepared at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old to have everything under the sun thrown at you in a place that there's no filter, no norms and standards, meaning that there's not a way that you can process it to determine if it's acceptable or not, because it's beyond your scope of reason. And so now it's presented in front of you. Now you've become desensitized to something you ain't even supposed to have seen yet.
Yeah. It becomes a norm.
Right. And so it's going to be easy for someone to come in now and to convince you to do something you shouldn't even be thinking about, and think it's normal, and think everybody else is crazy because they think you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And all you got to do, though, is look at the back end of the story, which kids are not trained to do. Kids don't look at the back end of the stories. That's why kids are not good decision makers.
Right.
What I mean, but I say look at the back end of the story, I mean, when I make a decision now at 53, I'm not just thinking about what I'm going to get when I make that decision. I'm thinking about what it's going to look like 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
What will it mean 6 years, 7 years from now? It's going to be good now. It's going to feel good now. You know, I mean, you got a bunch of people in prison who couldn't look at the back end. That person screwed me, so I'm finna pop a cap in them. And you never thought you was gonna lose your family, lose your freedom, lose all. And that's just one thing. It's so many things that you're going to find out come with long-term consequences. And you're gonna find out that those long-term consequences are not worth what you thought you were gonna enjoy by the decision. And now you're living with it for the rest of your life or for a long term.
Right.
And that's why we have to be the voice of reason. And sometimes that puts you in a place where you're not the most popular person. But see, being a parent is about being popular.
Right.
Being a parent is about being a protector, being a provider, being a spiritual covering, being the one who instills the type of values in your child that your child can use as an adult to win in this world.
Right.
And that doesn't come easy because there's so many people out there putting this fun life in front of them. And that's all they want to do is have fun.
Yeah. And
they don't see what being prepared means. It's your responsibility to keep that in front of them. It's your responsibility, you know, and I'm about to let Marion close it out. But I was sitting up and we've been talking about that a lot lately. But because of being reared by my great-grandparents, my great-grandmother never had to tell me, I'm not one of your little friends. I knew she was not one of my little friends because none of my little friends had that razor sharp backhand that could come from anywhere in the car, anywhere in the house, and hit you with precise precision, dead in the mouth and the nose, no matter what. Still driving, never stopping.
Yeah.
So I knew none of my little friends had that backhand. So I knew she wasn't my little friend.
Yeah.
But she used to tell me, you know, I'm not supposed to be your friend. But you know, that's something that you really need to think about. That we live in a world where parents want to be friends. I don't want to be friends. I got a 34-year-old daughter that absolutely adores me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been married for 14 years because I wasn't her friend.
Right.
Because I taught her what she needed to know and she listened.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes back because she said, but I shared Mary something that baby told me a couple of weeks ago that broke me down, that just meant the world to me, that she literally thought that highly of me and that what I did for her in her life mattered that much that at 34, she's still holding it that dear to her heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm saying that to say this, I'd rather my kids be mad at me now and thank me later.
Yeah.
Than to sit up and love me now and go, why didn't you tell me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's our responsibility. And Marion Courtney said hi. And
Oh.
Courtney is a lady, by the way.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So said this is something she actually brought to me and said, we've got to do a better job of making this an issue.
Right.
We have platforms. We've got to do a better job of making this an issue. And it's just, and to me, it's like, okay, it's one more thing that we got on our plates, but it's something so huge that we can't ignore it. So what do you want to close out with?
I just want to close out with, like, I know there's parents like Rick and I, and then I know the people that are looking are concerned because you guys are actually taking the time out to listen. But there are parents out there that aren't doing these things. So it may be up to us parents that really care to kind of step in when we see that a child is uncovered. The best that we can. We can't, you know, meddle in people's businesses, but if we can cover a child to protect them the best that we can, I say we need to start doing that in our communities. There used to be a time when we were growing up.
We need the village.
Right. That uncle or auntie, if we got in trouble, we get a spanking or a whipping with uncle, and we come home and get the same spanking.
Man, who you telling?
And so we knew if we messed up, we were going to be disciplined. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. You can have a neighbor see your child stealing something and won't tell you. You know, or acting out of character, or smoking cigarettes, or drinking, and they won't say a word. We have to get out of that. We have to be our brother's keeper.
I remember a time growing up where the freaking neighborhood wino would check. Boy, what the hell is you doing? I'm going to tell your mama. That's the name. I mean, there were certain things that people knew who your parents were, and they knew what your household values were. Right. We talked about this earlier, that I grew up in a time where we knew literally everybody in the neighborhood knew each other. And there were some families who let their kids do this. I was be in the house before the lights come on type kid. Right. And I mean, probably the strictest parents in the entire freaking neighborhood. So everybody knew when I was doing something my mom and them weren't going to let me do. And even if they were the parents that let their kids do it, they would tell me, you know, Miss Wallace don't want you doing that. Boy, if you don't go home, I'm going to tell your mama. Right. And we had that type of thing. Now, it ain't my business.
I'm staying out of that.
But this is what I can tell you. You can't talk Black empowerment and have a it's not my business mindset. You cannot have that. We are social creatures, and we're going to have to move socially and collectively, and we're going to have a specific specified agenda in economics, in value systems, in codes of conduct, in politics that say even if we have different philosophies, we're headed in the same direction, and that we unequivocally are going to have to protect our progeny, our youth. They are the future. They are the untainted right now. They are the ones that can be protected from inferiority complexes. Yeah. They can be protected from the Eurocentric idea of what's beautiful, what's classy, what's handsome, what's professional. All of these things that they're judging themselves by but can never live up to. You can, no matter how you dress yourself, no matter how you make up yourself, you're never going to be white. You were never designed to be white. But if we sit there and allow them to take these media images that are bombarding social media and try to recreate themselves, you change yourself, but you're still not going to be them, but you can be the best you the world has ever seen. And that's going to be up to us to teach our children that. Stop trying to be something you're not. Start being the best you can be. Be it so good that people don't even question what you're not. That's something that we are responsible for instilling into our children. It's up to us to tell them they're beautiful. It's up to us to tell them they're smart. It's up to us to encourage them to remove the boundaries and the boxes that the world is trying to put them in so that they can control them. That's our responsibility. And if we don't protect our babies, we're going to lose another generation to this society, and it's going to hurt us in ways unimaginable. So on that note, if you have anything else?
You pretty much covered it. But I mean, we have to come together as a community. And I know a lot of people may not like this comment that I'm making, but the number one thing that's really separating us Black men and Black women is procreating, having these children, and our relationships not working out. And then for whatever reason, the father or the mother decides that they don't ever want to see each other again. Well, guess what? If you never want to see that woman again, you're never seeing your kids again, which means they're growing up with abandonment issues. So that's going to make them reach out to other things to feel something that they may want their father or their mother to feel. I don't want to just throw men out there because women abandon their children as well. We have to be healthy and responsible adults so that we can protect these children together. And that means we all have to be active. We all have to have common sense. We have to forgive each other so we can work together, co-parent if we have to. But no kid should have to grow up feeling like they're not good enough. We deal with that every day. And it's killing our children. So let's come together, y'all. Let's get healthy. Let's build our communities back up and be the people that God designed us to be. And that's all I have to say.
Awesome. There's a saying, and I'm closing on this note. There's a saying, an old African proverb, and I'm paraphrasing, that says that when the village does not show the child love, he will burn it down to feel its warmth. And we want to talk about how destructive our children are. We want to talk about the violence among our youth. We want to talk about the sexual promiscuity. What you don't understand is, like that saying says, if you don't show the child love, he'll burn the village down just to feel the warmth of the village.
Right.
We have a responsibility to our youth before our whims of self-indulgence, we so caught up in self that we can't parent anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
it's all about us. It's all about our dreams. It's all about our goals. Well, guess what? Once you have a kid, a child, or children, it's no longer about you. It's about those children.
And you got to take this challenge. We owe it to our children. And that's what I'm going to call you guys on, is living at a level that our children feel safe. And on that note, we're going to get ready to get out of here. Thank everybody on Facebook for dropping in.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody on YouTube. It's been awesome.
Please subscribe to my new YouTube channel and share it.
Restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters on YouTube. So get over there and share it. The link is going to be in the description box of the videos that we share, so you can go over to her channel. And ladies, you definitely want to get over there because she's going to be giving you some powerful healing and encouragement. So on that note, we're getting ready to get out of here. She's got a call she needs to get ready to take. And on that note, it's been wonderful. Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in with a little special announcement. For those who have followed me for any stretch of time, outside of the businesses that I run, like Myriad Business Solutions, the Visionetics Institute, Odyssey Media Group, I also do a great deal of work inside of the inner city communities in Houston, Dallas, and other areas. I'm asking now, as we push a fundraiser, that you support what the Odyssey Project is doing in the inner cities, especially with programs like Black Men Lead, which is a rite of passage initiative, and Restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters, which is a program focused on helping young girls, but boys as well, suffering from childhood sexual abuse, rape, molestation, domestic abuse, absentee fatherhood, and so many other things. The information will be in the box. Thank you. From a conceptual perspective, people talk about it as all of the elements.